is now 2 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to Virtual30, our weekly live series happening every Tuesday at 2. This is our 10th episode, so thank you everyone for taking us this far and bringing us 10 weeks in. We're so excited to have you here today. It is June 16th, and our topic today is ServiceNow and their Safe Workplace Apps, and we have a couple representatives from ServiceNow, so welcome to Marcus and Christina. Before we get started, I'll quickly introduce myself for anyone that's new. My name is Brianna Colder, and I'm the Corporate Project and Event Coordinator for Vsoft. I'm also the moderator for this series, so you've probably seen me in weeks past if you've been joining. I'm located in Louisville, Kentucky, work out of our headquarter office. Like I mentioned, we have Marcus and Christina here today, so I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves as well. So Marcus, if you want to go first.
Sure. Thank you, Brianna. Appreciate it. As Brianna mentioned, my name is Marcus Hoffman. I am a ServiceNow account executive. So I've been with ServiceNow for just about 3.5 years now. I'm based in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I manage a subset of our customers in the Southwest Ohio area, as well as down south into Louisville, Kentucky. So pleasure to be speaking with you all.
Perfect. Thank you. And Christina?
Yeah, so my name is Christina. I am a solution consultant for ServiceNow. I do specialize in the employee experience section. I'm really excited to be talking to you about the apps today. I'll also do a quick intro to one of my colleagues, Mike Brewer. He's going to be hiding behind the scenes. He's going to be helping out with the Q&A portion of it as we're doing the demo.
Perfect. Thank you all. And real quick today, our agenda will go over quickly the impact of COVID-19 on the workplace, and then a quick presentation on ServiceNow's response with their Safe Workplace Apps. And then Christina will go through a live demo. And with whatever time we have left, we will do a Q&A with our panelists. So if you have any questions along the way, just feel free to jot them down below in your Q&A box. And I know we got a lot to cover, so I will go ahead and let you all get started.
Perfect. All right, yeah, so as Brianna said, we're gonna keep the slide deck portion pretty short and sweet. And I know we only have 20 minutes left. So I'm gonna run through a few slides and then pass it over to Christina to really get into the meat of the presentation today and do a brief demo of the apps that we recently released. So most organizations we've spoken to understand that COVID has drastically changed what their physical workspace will look like moving forward. And prior to COVID-19, only about 9% of America's workforce actually worked from home. Now, when COVID hit, that number drastically escalated all the way up to 42%. And as we prepare to go back into the office, only about 55% of that 42% is actually expected to physically return to a physical office location. Now, with that said, employers have found that more of their positions actually have the ability to work remotely than they previously may have thought. And employees have found they can actually be just as productive working from home, if not more. So early in May, Harvard Business Review talked about employee productivity, and they put a study out that Americans' workday has actually increased roughly by just about 3 hours per day. And that can be attributed to a lot of different efficiency gains, things like not having to commute to and from the office on a daily basis, or really just being able to communicate better with employees. So as organizations envision a post-coronavirus world, the return to workplace and the culture that they're looking to create will require careful planning and execution, and the ability to deliver the right digital experience for the return by addressing both workplace and workforce readiness is absolutely essential. So Brianna, next slide, please. Perfect, thank you. Now, as organizations plan for the next quote unquote new normal, we are seeing them take a phased approach to that reopening process. And these phases are based off of really just daily conversations that we've been having with our customers up to this point. So these phases are hypothetical, but there will likely be some sort of an approach similar to this across every organization that will need structured processes and communication around these phases. So the first phase, that's kind of the experimentation phase, right? That's kind of the phase that I'd say we're entering into right now. And this is all focused around kind of the critical workers who were previously working from home, but for one reason or another, maybe that's no longer possible, or maybe they just had kind of actually a negative impact on their productivity. They're going to be the employees that are going to be returning to the office first. Phase 2 is the modified operations phase. And that is more or less the workers that are going to basically be volunteering to be kind of next in line to return to an office location. And then phase 3 is going to be back to the new normal, right? So this is going to be what kind of the future is going to look like. And it's going to be a lot more flexibility in terms of where people are working and how they get their job done and how they communicate and collaborate with new technologies out there. Next slide. So back in mid-March, ServiceNow released our emergency response apps when we noticed that our customers needed a way to communicate with their employees and provide the resources that they needed to be effective. And if you fast forward 3 months to present day, we recognized that our customers had a new need, and we were actually able to stand up 4 new applications on the ServiceNow platform in just under 2 weeks to help support them. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, Brown. If you can go back one. There we go. So 2 of the apps are centered around workforce safety, and 2 of them are centered around workplace safety. So we have the employee readiness surveys, we have employee health screening, workplace PPE inventory management, and then workplace safety management. And all of these apps are able to be managed through the Safe Workplace dashboard. Next slide, please. So what we found is that many organizations are piecing together different technologies or spreadsheets to manage a lot of the tasks that are needed with returning to the workplace. So for example, based on conversations that we've actually been having with our customers, when it comes to employee readiness, it sounds like a lot of organizations are leveraging or have this vision to leverage tools like Survey Gizmo or SurveyMonkey to run these surveys. But the issue is that there's still a lot of manual processes that are associated with those tools. And actually another customer of ours was paying Gallup quite a lot of money to manage and to administer these surveys on their behalf. But by leveraging ServiceNow Employee Readiness Survey, you'll be able to gain visibility into your employees' wellness and leverage this information for workplace planning. Now, the second app, the employee health screening piece, that's probably our most popular app thus far. And this is giving the employees the ability to really self-report their temperatures daily and be assured that each employee who enters a building or a physical location are maintaining health regulations within your organization's guidelines. Now, for companies that don't have inventory management technology in place, they have been managing PPE inventory mainly via spreadsheets. But with our workplace PPE inventory management application, you'll have access to really real-time information of all levels of PPE across the globe, all at your fingertips. And then lastly is the workplace safety management application, which will allow you to manage everything from desk space, elevators, conference rooms, even parking spaces, to ensure that you have a good plan in place when it comes to social distancing and automating the cleaning and sanitation of these specific areas. And then when you have all these apps, it really all comes together with the Safe Workplace dashboard, which allows executives a single pane view into all the applications where you can directly drill into these different apps by directly clicking on the reports to drive reports and really take action on these processes. And then one last thing I want to mention real briefly before I pass it over to Christina. So, our product development team, they're committed to continually building on these apps that we've released. And I touched on it a few slides back, but, we saw a need in the marketplace for our customers to have technology to help them return to the workplace, right? So we were able to roll these apps out very quickly within 2 weeks. But there's still drive from our product development organization to continually add new features and functionality. And one in particular that a lot of customers have been asking us about is around contract contact tracing, excuse me. And for example, that is one that's on a roadmap. Christina, actually, you may be able to step in. Has that officially been released? I know it's slated to be released, I believe this week, if not last week.
I know it is in the roadmap, like you've been saying. I don't know the exact dates off the top of my head, but it is on that 2-week basis on where new releases are coming out and new features are being updated.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So it will definitely be released shortly. So just to, keep in mind that we're continually adding to these apps in a fluid motion. So with that said, that wraps up the slides that I wanted to run through, and I will pass it over to Christina for the demo.
Perfect. Well, I'll stop sharing my screen really quick, and Christina, you can go ahead and take over.
Let's see. Let's get started. Brianna, if you don't mind, permission to share my screen, please. This is
Okay.
that I'm not able to. Let's see. Maybe it needs a little reminder.
All right.
There we go.
There we go.
We got it. We got it. All right. And just want to make sure that everybody can see my screen here.
Yep. Looks good.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. So where I like to start off is that Safe Workplace dashboard. So as a leader within my organization, the person that is in charge of the Return to Work initiative, this is going to be a great tool that I'm going to have in my back pocket just to make sure that all of my office locations are staying safe, everything is taken care of, and I know that my employees are returning to a safe workplace when they do come back. So we can see in this organization, there are multiple offices, most of them located in the United States, but also we have some offices in Australia as well. And again, it's just a good glance view that I can take a look at, just depending on each office is doing, what their regulations maybe are that is mandated by state or federal government, just to make sure that everything is staying in line. But we can take a look here. We have some alerts that have come to me just based on that office as well. It looks like our Seattle campus here has a couple of alerts we would want to address. So we're going to click into that. That's going to be our focus for today's demo. And as we can see here within the Seattle location, we have 2 different office spaces. One is going to be Harrison, which is looking pretty good right now. And we also have a Broadway location, which has a couple of alerts that we may need to take a look at here. So this is my Broadway location here. I have a couple of widgets that I can take a look at to make sure that I am staying updated on everything that is going on in this specific location. So we can see my reported employee readiness. This is going to change daily just as people are self-reporting about how ready they are to return to work. It's also updating me on that employee health status as well. So we can see if any of my employees in this location are maybe reporting symptoms, how many of them are going to be returning to work, and then also people who have declined to say. Also as well, we have these widgets too. So I can keep track of any confirmed COVID-19 cases that are happening in my area. Just good to stay updated with what's going on specifically in that location, maybe see those results change based on that. We can also see these graphs here that are telling me over time how everything is going. So we can see my employee entry health monitoring. That can be someone standing at the door taking temperature, or even also a self-report, how many people are being admitted or being rejected. Workplace reservation, so how many spaces within my location are going to be available to those that they're able to reserve, and how full my office is getting based on those reservations. And then simple things like PPE inventory, so any personal protective equipment, can be anything from masks, goggles, gloves, hand sanitizers, anything that you may potentially be providing to your employees in order to stay safe. And lastly, we have our workplace cleaning activity. We want to make sure office spaces, communal spaces are getting clean. So we want to make sure those cleaning activity is staying up to date along that as well. So if in this office, it looks like some people are starting to return to work. So I want to make sure that we're prepared for it. They're coming back to a safe space. So what we're going to take a look at here is how we're organizing specifically this Broadway space. And we're able to do that using my workplace safety management tools. So we can see here we have multiple campuses within my organization. Again, I have that full glance view into it. We're also seeing a sneak peek into the different breakdowns that we can have in terms of any of this space administration. So it's going from as big as regions to as close as spaces that are in the offices themselves. So to stay within our trend here, we're going to go into our Broadway office as well. And we can see here again the specific breakdown of that office. So within the Seattle campus itself, it looks like we have 3 different buildings. Again, this is where I can determine what is going to stay open, what is going to stay closed, just so I can make sure that we're following with any compliance that is given to me, but also staying organized and aware of how we're opening up our offices themselves. So we have 3 buildings here. We can also see the floors are being broken down as well. I know who is managing those specific areas as well, along with staying up to date on the workplace tasks. So it can be anything from cleaning to opening up different spaces, a lot of the work that would be handled by facilities. We can also see the spaces as well. So I need to make sure they're properly distanced. I need to make sure that they're reservable, so we can see within this specific graph here. And this is just, again, a way to make sure that all of the spaces that can be reserved are the ones that I've designated to make sure that they are reserved and stay organized with however big that campus may be. So within that shift functionality, another way to stay safe and keep within that social distancing is to have different shifts. So within my Broadway office, these are the different shifts that I have available to everybody. So depending on the building, the floor, and then also when people are coming in. So again, we'll take a look into this one designated for the Broadway area. So we can see here, this specific shift is for that 9 to 5 range. So these could be people that are regularly returning into work. We can see the specific people that are going to enter into that office itself. I can see the spaces that are going to be reserved to them as well, along with the specific work tasks associated with those spaces. So I want to make sure they are pre-cleaned before that employee gets there. And once that employee leaves, it has to be completely sanitized, just to ensure the safety of everybody that is coming into the office and also the person who may be returning for that specific shift. What I also want to take a look at is the different PPE inventory of this. So I have this useful dashboard here to me. I can stay up to date on all of the protective equipment that I may need for the office and also where it is going. So again, I can see the amount of items that have been consumed, how much is in stock. I can also see what is on order, just to ensure that offices are getting the right amount of equipment as well. I can also see in terms of distribution, so depending on who is in charge of distributing it, how many of them have been distributed, how much of it has been distributed as well. I can also determine this by stock room. So these can be different offices. This can be a warehouse. Again, I know where those specific PPE equipment items are. I'm staying fully up to date on everything there. And I also have these stock rules as well. So we can see some are different from Denver, and also we have Melbourne as well. If I have a bigger office, I want to make sure that we have at least 200 masks that are in stock. If we ever dip below that number, it will send me a notification to order more, whether that be from a supplier or I can always transfer them from a different office. And again, these locations can be different. It can be, again, by any mandated by state or federal governments. It can be just the size of the office. I'm able to determine this just to make sure that I have enough equipment for all of my employees. So now that I know all of the areas are safe, I'm going to start sending out surveys to my employees just to show that we're ready to come back into work and how comfortable you are with it as well. So here we have a Seattle outreach survey. These are going to all of the people within that Broadway office. What I'm going to do is send that notification now. Perfect. And then what we have here, and you can see, are the different targeted audience values that I can always pick. So it looks like here we're only sending it to the specific Broadway East people. We can also determine it by specific user if that's something your organization wanted to do. It can also be by different departments as well. If you wanted to do it by groups, that's good. If you wanted to commingle people that may be in different departments that may have different roles, or if you wanted to do it in a phased approach, you can name these groups different phases, phase 1, phase 2, anything really of that nature. And we also have content configuration as well. So we've sent out a survey. We've also designated the type of survey that we've wanted to send as well. So this one is the Workplace Readiness Survey. And we're able to send it through an email notification and also from our Now mobile app here. We also have additional channels, so different spokes that can be built out, but full disclosure, they may take a little bit time. And if you want to stand up these applications, email and the apps have been one of the more successful ways in order to reach out of them as well. So what we're going to do, we sent out this survey. We're now going to switch over to one of our employees. He's going to use our mobile app in order to fill out that specific survey here. So we are now Craig. Craig is currently in his Now mobile app. If you haven't seen it before, it's a great tool in order to update cases, put in incidents, but here we're focusing on that specific survey that's been sent to us. As we can see, we see a notification up here to complete that Seattle outreach survey. So what he can do is click into that notification, click into that employee readiness. What it will do is load up for us. It's going to give us a series of questions. These are just the questions that are going to be within my demo instance here, but of course you can configure these questions to whatever you would like. So here it's asking us about any recent travel. I will say no. It's asking if I've had any symptoms and then giving me different options in terms of these symptoms as well. I'll say I won't have any symptoms. I'll also say that I am also ready to return to work. I have no comments here, so I'll just hit submit. So now my organization is going to take in that information and they'll be able to use it and determine that I am and comfortable with returning back to work. And what we can also see is that screening option here. So these can be the option in terms of self-reports, or again, that person that is standing at the door, taking temperatures, making sure you're not reporting any of those symptoms here. And they have this specific form. Here we go. So again, it's my location of Broadway. It knows that because Craig is working from that office. For time's sake, I'm just going to select able here. This is where I can select myself, or the person or secretary at the door can select the employee trying to check in. I can report that my temperature is going to be 98.6, a pretty healthy temperature, and that I've also brought in my own PPE equipment. And once I hit submit from there, it's going to allow me to enter the building. If I reported a higher temperature or maybe didn't have any PPE equipment, it will also let me know that I'm not available to enter. So I always can keep stock of that information as well. So as this information is being filled out, you're collecting different kinds of information from other people as well. What it will do is that information is going to get put into this dashboard here. So this one is our employee health screening overview. Here I'm able to determine which ones have been approved, which requests have been denied. All of these are drillable as well, so I'm able to see maybe why there's a spike in people not being approved to enter a building. It could be related to PPE equipment or temperature. We can also see here, we also have a temperature override. So if a different area designates a dangerous temperature to be something higher than another, I always have the option to configure that in here as well. And again, a bunch of other useful information that I may need in order to make sure that I'm staying up to date on that organization, why people are being admitted or being denied, and I can make the necessary changes for that. But this has been the entire demo. I definitely want to leave some room for any Q&A as well. And I will give it back to you, Brianna.
Perfect. All right. Let me see. All right, now it is got time for Q&A at the end. We got about 5 minutes or so. So if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and jot them in. I do have one here that came in. I don't have ServiceNow. Can I still get these apps? Was a question we saw. If you all want to take that one.
Yeah, I can step in. So the answer is yes. So these apps are really meant to be leveraged out of the box. They can be purchased from current customers or non-current ServiceNow customers and users. And generally speaking, it takes about 10 hours or so to actually stand these up.
Perfect. And then we got another one. Is this like a whole suite of apps, or can I pick and choose which apps I want that are relevant to me?
So this is a whole suite. They are all bundled together as our return to work package. So it comes with all 4 applications as well as the dashboard.
But you do also have the option to implement which ones you do want, and then the other ones you can kind of leave on the shelf if they're not immediately needed.
Perfect. And then I did have one more. What are the costs of these apps?
So Mike, you may be the best person for this one. I feel like you're probably more familiar with the actual cost structure.
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends on the size of the organization, but just standard pricing right now is about $3 an employee or user. So we're seeing that, a majority of people aren't all coming back to the office. So whatever that subset or group that is coming back to the office, it would be those users using the apps on a daily basis or weekly basis.
Perfect. And I didn't see any more questions come in. If anybody has any more, you can throw them in now. If they come in later, we'll answer them at the end, but there's also going to be contact information if you want to submit any questions afterwards. So I think we are good for now. So I just want to say thank you to Marcus and Christina. We got it done in 30 minutes. So thank you all for joining us today. I know you all have busy schedules. We appreciate you going through the demo and everything.
Yeah,
And
of course. Thanks for the opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you all. And that's all we have for everyone today. If you want to inquire about any speaking opportunities for Virtual30 or you have further questions, you can contact me at virtual30series@gmail.com. I've also got Marcus and Christina, their contact information here in case you'd like more specific questions. You have more specific questions or comments on the apps. And that is all we have for you today. So thank you all. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Christina. And thank you, Mike.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll leave the screen up for anyone who wants to jot down any of this information. And that's it. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.